the biggest GOAT of them all, the greatest of all time to ever play a sport, Michael Jeffrey Jordan. You know who's working out, who's training and prepping for their golf tournament, getting a golf swing right at Michael Jordan's private golf course.
Caitlin Clark just played golf with Michael Jordan. But this wasn't some charity event or a Nike photo op. This was a private summit at a location so exclusive, it makes Fort Knox look like a public park. The photos that just leaked weren't an accident. They were a statement, and what they were really times discussing is about to change the entire landscape of sports.
Recently, she was on a golf course, but not just any golf course. These photos shared by a young lady who was on the golf course with Clark and wrote, "What a moment to get to hang out at the golf course with my favorite basketball player. She's as nice and humble as you can be. Hopefully one day we'll be playing with you." And you see, obviously, Caitlin there on that golf course. And that wasn't the only post about it. There was another account, I'm assuming her father, but he posted about it as well, that Caitlin and had herself a day. Brandon, with the same photo, played Grove, I don't know how it's said, and met the best female hooper in the game. That Grove golf course is Michael Jordan's golf course, which is apparently
Caitlin Clark just played golf with Michael Jordan. But this wasn't some charity event or a Nike photo op. This was a private summit at a location so exclusive, it makes Fort Knox look like a public park. The photos that just leaked weren't an accident, they were a statement. And what they were times discussing is about to change the entire landscape of sports.
Take a look here. We got Caitlin Clark taking a photo here with the kid. And a kid actually got the Caitlin Clark's on, if you noticed. Yeah. Got the CC's on. And what's the big deal? What's the big deal, KTV? Shout out to offseason Caitlin Clark source. The location, Michael Jordan's private golf course.
You have to understand, this wasn't just any golf course. This was Grove 23, Michael Jordan's personal sanctuary. A place he literally built from the ground up because he got tired of mere mortals slowing down his game. Membership is by his personal invitation only. There's no application. Drones deliver your snacks because beverage carts are too common. The fact that Caitlin Clark at 23 years old got that call, that's not an invitation, that's an anointment.
Getting ready to light up the PGA little situation they got going on that she'll be playing in. It's gonna be a record-breaking audience, as we know, as always with Caitlin Clark. It is a
Let's be brutally honest. They weren't talking about putting techniques. You don't get a private audience with the GOAT to discuss club selection. When the two most scrutinized, physically targeted, and culturally impactful players of their generations meet in private, they are talking survival. They are talking about how to handle the hate, the pressure, and the crushing weight of single-handedly carrying a league. Jordan was looking at the only person on the planet who can truly understand the path he walked. Think about the eerie parallels. The sold-out arenas on the road, the record-shattering TV ratings, the cheap shots and borderline assaults from jealous opponents who resent the hype. It's the exact same script from Jordan's chaotic early years. He didn't just see a great player in Caitlin Clark, he saw a mirror image of his own brutal, brilliant, and lonely rise to the top. This meeting was about validating that struggle. And of course, the internet critics immediately crawled out, questioning why she was playing golf instead of training in the gym. This might be the most clueless take in sports history. Michael Jordan practically lived on the golf course throughout his career, often playing 36 holes right before a playoff game. He used it as his mental reset. Getting a 5-hour masterclass in greatness from the most ruthless competitor ever created is infinitely more valuable than any conditioning session. But this goes way deeper than mentorship. Michael Jordan is not just a basketball legend. He is a billionaire businessman who built a global empire that generates billions in revenue every single year. When he invites you into his inner circle, he is not just vetting your jump shot, he is evaluating your potential as a business partner. This meeting wasn't just about basketball, it was about the future of a multi-billion-dollar dynasty. This was a calculated power move. When the undisputed GOAT of basketball invites you to his private fortress, it sends a deafening message to everyone else in the sports world. It tells every other player, every brand, and every media executive that Caitlin Clark isn't just the star of the WNBA, she is a cultural force operating on a level that transcends her own league. It's a validation that no one else has ever received. So no, this wasn't just a friendly round of golf, this was the beginning of something much, much bigger. A potential mentorship, a future business empire, and a symbolic passing of the torch that we are only now beginning to understand. Michael Jordan does not waste his time, and the fact he chose to spend it with Caitlin Clark tells you everything you need to know about who truly runs the world of basketball now. Let's dissect what that bigger thing truly is, because it's not a mystery if you know how to read the signs. This meeting was about the single most successful and revolutionary business venture in sports history, the Jordan brand. You have to understand, the Jumpman logo isn't just a logo on a shoe. It is a completely separate, multi-billion-dollar subsidiary of Nike. It functions as its own company, with its own roster of athletes, its own design teams, and its own CEO, who just happens to be Michael Jordan himself. He doesn't just get a royalty check, he has an equity stake. He built an empire inside of an empire. This is the blueprint for ultimate athlete empowerment, and it has never ever been replicated. For 30 years, Nike has searched for the next athlete worthy of that blueprint, and for 30 years, every single one has fallen short. Let's put the sheer scale of this into perspective. The Jordan brand generated over $6.6 billion in revenue in the last fiscal year alone. That's more than the entire revenue of Under Armour and Puma combined. Michael Jordan's personal earnings from that deal are estimated to be over $300 million annually. Annually! We are not talking about a shoe deal. We are talking about a self-sustaining financial juggernaut that has made Jordan a billionaire 3 times over and has fundamentally altered the relationship between athletes and corporations. When he sat down with Caitlin Clark on his private course, he wasn't just offering advice, he was opening the books to his kingdom and showing her the path to her own. He was vetting the person who could finally be trusted to carry that torch forward and build a sister dynasty. This is why the meeting had to happen, and why it had to be private. Caitlin Clark is the first athlete since Jordan who possesses the specific, volatile cocktail of ingredients necessary to justify such a move. She has the generational talent, the polarizing media presence, the record-shattering viewership numbers, and a cultural magnetism that makes her bigger than her sport. Nike knows this. They are about to launch her signature shoe, the CC one, but a signature shoe is child's play compared to what's really on the table. The conversation at Grove 23 was about the creation of a Clark brand, a dedicated women's sports apparel and shoe division built in the exact image of the Jordan brand, with her at the helm. It's a move so audacious, so paradigm-shifting, that it requires the personal blessing and strategic guidance of the only man who has ever successfully pulled it off. But before you hand over the keys to a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, you have to know if the person can withstand the fire that comes with it. This is where the mentorship becomes inseparable from the business. Jordan was testing her. He was looking her in the eye and explaining the profound, soul-crushing cost of that level of greatness. He was talking about the isolation, the way your circle of trust shrinks to just a handful of people. The constant suffocating pressure to be perfect every single night, not just for the fans, but for the hundreds of employees whose livelihoods depend on the strength of your brand. He was giving her the unvarnished truth. Building an empire means becoming a willing prisoner of your own success, and he had to be sure she was ready to serve that sentence. A huge part of that conversation, I guarantee you, was about the dark arts of mental warfare. Jordan didn't just beat his opponents physically, he psychologically dismantled them. He famously used any perceived slight, real or imagined, to create a narrative in his head that transformed a basketball game into a personal vendetta. He was teaching Clark how to take the cheap shots, the jealous whispers from veterans, and the idiotic chirping from online trolls, and not just ignore it, but to weaponize it. He was giving her the masterclass on how to alchemize negativity into competitive fuel, how to smile in their face at the press conference while mentally cataloging every single insult to be repaid with interest on the court. It's a brutal mindset, but it's the price of entry into the GOAT conversation. And part of that survival is building a fortress. not just mentally, but physically. Think about Jordan's inner circle. His security guy, Gus Lett, his trainer, Tim Grover, his agent, David Falk. These weren't just employees, they were a human shield, meticulously curated to filter out the noise and protect his singular focus. Jordan was almost certainly giving Clark the blueprint for building her own team. Not just agents and managers, but the people who handle her security, her travel, her finances, and her schedule. He was explaining how to identify the sycophants and the leeches who will inevitably try to attach themselves to her rising star, and how to be ruthless in cutting them out. This is the unglamorous, logistical side of being an icon that no one talks about, and it's where most burgeoning superstars fail. This meeting also served as a seismic power play directed at the WNBA itself. By publicly aligning himself with Clark, Jordan has fundamentally altered the league's power structure. Caitlin Clark no longer needs the WNBA's marketing machine to legitimize her. She has been legitimized by the most powerful figure in basketball history. It sends a clear message to the league office, to the owners, and to the other players. She operates on a different plane. Any decision the league makes, from media rights deals to rule changes, now has to be viewed through the prism of how it affects their singular, Jordan-backed superstar. She has leverage that no female athlete has ever possessed. She doesn't just have a seat at the table, she has the power to flip the table over. Imagine the psychological impact this has on her opponents. Before, they were trying to rough up a talented rookie. Now, they have to think twice before taking a cheap shot at Michael Jordan's chosen successor and potential business partner.